As we've seen, the government is just printing trillions of dollars to keep the system going. Could this be the demise of the US dollar? What if these $1,200 stimulus checks are conditioning us for universal basic income as we move towards a... What is going on, everybody? I'm Justin Taylor. That clip that you just saw was from a video that I put out last week where I was talking about the potential of an economic collapse. And I was basically rattling off a bunch of stuff, half jokingly, and I was playing into some of the conspiracy theories out there right now on how the government is using these stimulus checks to push some bigger agenda. And as you just saw, I made a comment about this being the start of universal basic income. And then just a couple days after I posted that video, this happened. A new proposal came out that, if put into effect, would give basically every American for the entire duration of this pandemic $2,000 a month. Is this the beginning of universal basic income? In this video, I don't want to focus on the specifics of this proposed $2,000 a month stimulus plan, but rather I want to focus on the topic of universal basic income, or UBI. This whole pandemic has sparked a lot of conversations around the need for a monthly guaranteed income. And by definition, if this stimulus was to go into play, we would be receiving a form of basic income from the government. So let's take a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly as it relates to UBI. This is one of those topics that has strong views in favor of it and also against it. And it can easily turn into a controversial and heated subject, which, as you know, are my favorite kinds of topics. If you don't know what universal basic income is, it's a government guarantee that each citizen will receive a minimum income. Kind of like making minimum wage, except you don't have to do anything to receive it. Now, a universal basic income plan may differ depending on what the government is willing to offer. In some cases, every citizen would receive payment regardless of their income, or there may be additional requirements like only those who are below the poverty line would get paid, or those who are unemployed. In the case of this $2,000 a month stimulus plan that's being presented right now, the current requirements are basically that you have to be 16 years or older and make less than $130,000 a year, which is like 90% of our population. Really, the intention behind these payments is to provide enough money to people to help them cover their basic cost of living and to provide them with some financial security. This concept of a basic income gained more and more popularity in the last decade due to a rise in technology. And many people believe that guaranteed income will be necessary once robots and automation start taking all of our jobs. Being a truck driver, for example, is the largest profession in our country, and that profession is going to be eliminated once we have self-driving trucks in the coming years. Universal basic income is a way to support people like this that will lose their jobs as a result of automation. For years now, many people have been strongly endorsing UBI, from big CEOs to human rights activists to political figures.
Ultimately, we will have to have some kind of universal basic income.
Universal basic income?
Universal basic income.
Universal basic income.
Guaranteed annual income, a guaranteed minimum income.
Even the Pope just last week made an announcement claiming that this is now the time to consider a universal basic wage. So while this whole idea of UBI has been around for a while now, we're actually at a point right now where we may begin to see this happen. Right now is kind of the perfect time to introduce this concept of basic income, since unemployment is at such a high level at the moment. And by the looks of it, unemployment is going to continue climbing. This is particularly a hot topic right now because it's believed that a minimum income is highly needed and highly effective in environments where we have a substantial number of people without jobs, just like we're seeing right now. Proponents of UBI would tell you that it's all about putting economic resources into people's hands. Income inequality would decrease, education would improve, stress levels would decline, and more money would circulate through local businesses, which would stimulate the economy. In theory, UBI makes sense, especially right now as many people are finding themselves in hard times. Having $2,000 a month would definitely help a lot of people. But universal basic income has been tested in a couple different countries like Canada and Norway, and what's been seen is that long term, it's proven to be ineffective because it incentivizes people to not work. And as you might also expect, it discourages people that are unemployed from actually wanting to look for work. And not just that, but when people aren't working and they don't have anything to do, but they have a consistent form of money coming in each month, that's when bad habits start to form, right? People get lazy, they get unhealthy, they start doing drugs, and they start drinking heavily. All that's already taken place right now with the quarantine. Now give people $2,000 a month on top of that. Besides, this would cost trillions of dollars a year without knowing what kind of payoff it would actually have. This would ultimately result in a rise in taxes to fund this. Like I said in this video right here from a couple weeks ago, there is no such thing as free money. You can't give almost every US citizen $2,000 a month without some kind of negative effect, and that comes in the form of higher taxes. In the case of UBI, higher tax rates would either be applied to the wealthy or to public corporations, two things that are already taxed beyond belief. So is universal basic income a good idea? Like I said, I don't think there's necessarily a right answer when it comes to this. There's two ends of the spectrum. On one end, people claim that this will be essential in helping the economy and the American people recover after this pandemic is over. And on the other hand, people claim that this is a move towards socialism where everyone will lose their work ethic and instead rely on the government to completely support them. But whether you agree or disagree with implementing a universal basic income, it may be on its way, and it may even be coming in a matter of just weeks, depending on if and when this new stimulus bill gets approved. So here's my call to action. I want to know what you think about this. Let me know below if you think a universal basic income will do more good, or if you think it'll do more harm. Curious to hear your thoughts. Until next time, peace.